We are back live for this week's episode of Lever Up Your Life, where I bring on guests to share their strategies and secrets for leveraging their knowledge, resources, and contacts to lever up your life. So this week, I got my friend Anthony Terrell on. I remember, dude, we actually initially connected right after I got my puppy because we were going to go golfing, and I was like, nah, bro, can't leave my pup at home.
Can't leave the pup. Golfing next weekend.
Oh, there you go, man. So we're chatting all about leads, and the funny thing is, and actually, let me make sure I'm live on Instagram. If you want to go, click that as well on your side.
Yeah, we're good to go.
But the funny thing is, I was like, running behind in the studio today, literally because just trying to figure out what leads are worth spending my time on. It doesn't really matter if you're wholesale, fix and flip, hard money. Like half of sales is really figuring out where to spend your time. So I'm just going to put the ball in your court. Like, fill everyone in who's listening, kind of your backgrounds, where you've done deals, what type, what you're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just for some background, originally from Ohio, grew up in Ohio, hometown Akron. Kind of my journey starts there. I was in real estate originally for about 6 months in Ohio, off-market deals, investing. That's when I bought my first property. It was a duplex. Lived in one half, rented the other, was off-market. So found this just by hunting for good deals. So, kind of fast forward to now, I actually left Ohio. I moved out to California, and that journey took me into door-to-door sales for 2 years. So I did door-to-door for a year out in California, and then moved here to Tampa, did door-to-door for a year in Tampa, and then transitioned into real estate, which is what I'm doing now. So have a company, we prospect off-market deals, find great deals for buyers, for cash buyers, and ourselves as investors. So spend a lot of time prospecting with leads, finding out who's worth your time, who's not worth your time, and then capitalizing on those and helping people get where they're looking to go.
Bro, that's crazy. That explains the savage. I didn't realize, one, I didn't know you went to California. Two, I had no idea you had basically, 3 years of door to door?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, lots of experience. Mentor of mine, he was a real estate investor himself. And one of the things he said was, hey, if you want to be successful in real estate, get into sales. So I think what comes with sales is learning how to talk to clients, talk to families, talk to the people that you're working with, and really turning those into something that benefit both the client and yourself and your business.
Yeah. Was this Cutco knives or is it something else?
No Cutco knives. We sold solar.
Oh, solar.
Oddly enough, we deal with solars in real estate all the time. So good. You hear the good and the bad about it, but it can always be good if you're with the right people.
Honest opinion only. Solar panels, good or bad investment?
I think great investment. Great investment if you do it the right way. I think most important thing, like with anything and any people that you work with, any business, is finding the people that are going to do it the right way and make sure you're taken care of. That's the biggest thing.
It's funny, dude. I think it's a horrible investment.
It's funny. Yeah, you hear both sides.
Yeah.
As somebody in real estate, it's like how do I sell my house? How do I do this? And it's like, hey, you find the right people. I'm actually closing on a deal with Saltzman right now, and it has solar on it. So we're going to take over the loan and then sell that to the next family. So they're going to have a lower payment. But
yeah, I mean, dude,
not a solar meeting, all real estate. So we'll turn it into
dude,
so it's great business.
Honestly though, like my house, my flip has solar. I honestly forgot, and I've never heard one person, like, we haven't gotten any feedback like, oh, that's cool, you have solar. It's like, I don't really care. I mean, it's cool, I guess.
It's just there. Yeah.
So anyways, man, so you get into real estate. Did you do any of the door-to-door stuff in real estate, or were you just straight to the phones?
Yeah. So when I first got into real estate, I was looking at it like, okay, what skill set do I have? Stores. It's talking to people every day. So my first, client, my first prospect, the lead strategy that I focused on was pre-foreclosures. So, that's a family who's maybe, they've had some financial difficulties, maybe medical, maybe just got behind on some payments. I think things got very expensive over the last few years, and that's really changed, how families approach things. And, when families go through that, they really need somebody to come in and show them a direction, whether that's staying in the house, moving, or just selling, and maybe even staying in the home after they sell it. So lots of options, and I approach that like, how many people are reaching out to these same people every day?
Yeah.
So, I capitalized on that. And I said, hey, look, maybe it's just talking to them in person. They don't want to answer the phone. They've been texted 1,000 times. How can I get ahead and really bring value to them? And it's by getting in front of them. And so that's what I did. I went to their door and I said, hey, how can I help you? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Early on, like
Yeah.
before you were really doing, kind of figured it out, knew where to spend your time really, were you just wasting a lot of time on some of these leads? Like I know when I got started in wholesale, that was definitely the case. I spent way too much time on people that were never going to do business with me.
100%. Yeah. So, and with the good things about that always comes the other side. It's like, yeah, you spend a ton of time with people that they maybe don't want your help, or they're not qualified for this.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's the reason I switched and transitioned to, hey, let's make more phone calls. Let's text more. Let's send out mailers and find out a better way to get in contact, and then just have more quality conversations with these people. Ask the right questions, find out what their goals are. At the end of the day, we're here to help people get where they want to go, and that's the whole point of this. So, it's asking the right questions, and it's disqualifying the people right away that don't make sense. That's the biggest two things. Yeah.
What are the right questions?
Yeah, right questions are, okay, let's define the problem first. So what is the person dealing with? And this is pre-foreclosures aside. This is anything, maybe somebody inherited a property, maybe they've been a landlord for 15 years and they're like, hey, I'm sick of dealing with tenants. I've had these for 15 years and they're not paying the rent anymore. I don't want to go and fix the toilet. The roof needs replaced. So it's saying, okay, well, that person, they don't want to deal with the tenants anymore. They don't want to put money into the roof, or they inherited the property and they don't know what to do with it. Yeah. So first we define those problems. And then the second thing is, okay, what are the right questions? Like you said. So I always look at it like there's 4 pillars to this. Yeah. Number 1, it's the timeline. When do you want to get through this? When do you want to have something figured out by? Figure out from them, whether it's 30 days or 6 months. And work with them on that, and don't pressure people into making a decision until they're ready to make that decision, but also guide them to actually doing something and changing their life. So I think that's really important. And I can go through the rest. And I think, just 4 pillars for that really are condition of the property. So timeline, condition of the property, like the roof that needs replaced, maybe the furnace needs replaced, finding those details out, so that down the road, you're not going back to, hey, what do we need to do with this property, and asking questions that you should have already found out if you're going to buy a house, right? So ask condition, property questions about the condition. Third is price. What do they want to get for the home? What's important for them with regard to the price? Do they want to just pay off their mortgage? Do they need some money in their pocket, or do they want retail value? And that goes back to disqualifying or seeing if they're a good fit for this. And then 4th question really is just like, hey, why is this person doing what they're doing? What's the best route for them to go? Am I the best route for them to go, or is there a different path? So all great questions.
Yeah. What's interesting is, aside from maybe the questions about condition, this pretty much applies for anything. For instance, most of my audience, fix and flippers, right? They're like, oh man, like this whole disqualifying, leave the bad leads behind. This is hyper relevant. This isn't just talking about sellers. It's like how many times you get a lead, which is a wholesaler or agent trying to sell you a deal. Dude, if you underwrote everything that crossed your desk, you wouldn't do anything but look at a bunch of garbage all day. I mean, let's be real.
All the time.
And so for me personally, I disqualify right away unless I see one. Wholesaler's desperate, dude. They're on a timeline. Like when I hear I'm out of inspection today, somebody backed out, I'm like, all right, I might actually underwrite this one. Same, like if there's not a problem, if they don't have a problem where it's like, no, we've got a bunch of time and we have a bunch of people interested, I'm like, not for me. But if they're like, hey, I'm trying to get this done really quickly, there's some kind of problem, that's when I know like, okay, this is actually something that I would take time to underwrite and either do myself or push to one of my borrowers. Um,
Yeah,
and
100%.
yeah, it's like the same for me too with lending. Like if nobody has a problem, they're not on a timeline to get something funded and they can shop everyone in the world. Like, newsflash, there are people who are cheaper than me.
Definitely. Definitely.
Like there are people who are cheaper than me, but if somebody actually has something that they need help with, that's my value. And those are the people who I spend time with. Everyone else, trash can, just go to kiavi.com. Like, do
Totally.
it.
Yeah. I say it's like, hey, are you ready to make a decision today? Like, or is this something that you're not ready? And there's people out there for that. And maybe it's somebody you come back to, but at the end of the day, you want to help people that are ready to make a decision and do something. Taking action, that's so important. So yeah, 100% people that need help, that they ran out of inspection period, and you can help them get the deal sold.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, 100%.
When you're talking to sellers, what are some of the questions that you use to basically, like, you go through the 4 pillars, right? And you're like, okay, this has potential. What are you doing to get them from like, all right, yeah, this is, I mean, it's a lead. They have motivation. They do need to sell at some point, versus like they're actually ready to make a decision. What are the kind of questions you use to either try to see if they're ready for that, gauge it, or maybe even push them that way? Like, what do you have in your toolbox for that?
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know if you've heard of Jeremy Miner. You heard of Jeremy
Yeah,
Miner?
yeah,
Yeah,
I've
so
heard of it.
he's a great coach. He's somebody I learned from. I start from a framework. So rather than the questions first, I start from, hey, how can I phrase this question so it brings the most out?
Yeah.
So three things I use just up front. It's how, what, and why. And if you base every single question from those 3 words, you can find out so much information about the person's
Mm,
situation. So, one question, for example, that maybe brings out timeline for a family, or when they're making a decision, loans, anything else really, is, how would you feel if we were able to get this done today? What
yeah.
that does for somebody is it says, okay, like, if I feel good about making a decision today, like, yes, I feel great about that. And it
Yeah.
lines you up so you know exactly where they're at. So great question for timeline. Another great question I like to say is what would it look like if this worked out perfectly? What would this look like? It's a what question. It opens up the book and it allows
Mm,
people to just tell you everything instead of you making assumptions,
yeah.
asking 1,000 back-to-back yes or no questions, which they've heard 1,000 times, and you sound like every other person. So let
Yeah.
them open up, tell you what they need. Huge.
That's a really good
Um,
question.
yeah,
Shoot, I should even
maybe,
implement that with my borrowers. What does a perfect funding look like to you?
yeah,
Don't feel
100%.
better out.
And you can ask anybody that for anything, and they'll dive into that. And it makes them feel heard. So
Yeah,
it's a
I
good way
love
to
that.
do things. Yeah,
I do
absolutely.
like the whole like, how do you feel about it as well, because I think even with cash buyers, people say yes. You can get them to say yes with logic, but you get people to sign docs when they
Yeah,
feel good, and that's ultimately what you need.
100%. Yeah, people to help to guide them to a decision, get them where they want to go. Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah. What's okay? Another question. We're talking about leaving bad leads behind. Let's just say somebody goes through your 4 pillars, like bang, bang, they're good to go. Or let's even talk about a wholesale lead, checks all the boxes, fits my buy box. I like it. Is there like a particular timeline that you're like, hey, look, it's been 2 years and everything checks the box? Like, do you eventually just throw these away, or what do you do with old leads? Because I remember we had one lead when I was working with for Nick K. This lady, bro, she almost never picked up the phone. And if you got her to pick it up, she would just cuss you out like
yeah,
bad. But she had a house. She was out of state in California. Her house had a tree that fell on it, but like a
hmm
huge tree. You couldn't see the house from the road.
yeah, it's crazy
Yeah. And it took like 2 or 3 years to get that
to get.
assignment. And it was a
Yeah,
big assignment. So
definitely.
that's kind of one of those things where it's like, yo, do you delete this lead or not? What is your process for sorting through your old leads like that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a great question. Definitely two part. I think number one, it's how do I how do I keep leads around so that I don't get rid of them if they'll eventually make a decision? And then number two, how do I not keep leads around and waste my time?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's huge. I think that in order to capitalize on most of those, just in general, usually takes at least 7 times to bring somebody to getting a decision. So 7 follow-up things. You're making a call, you're text
Yeah.
messaging, you're sending mail, whatever that looks like. So one thing I utilize is in my CRM, we plug in AI, so to keep those leads touch. Make sure that they're
Yeah.
being contacted rather than us making a call every single other day
Yeah.
when we have tons of other leads that are ready to make a decision today. We throw those into an AI follow-up system that sends them text messages and that even gives us, notifications that we need to make a call after maybe
Yeah.
30 days. So keeps them in the pipeline and then also saves you time so that you're not and my team time and me time, so I don't
Yeah.
need to make those phone calls all the time. So yeah, I think it's keeping them in the pipeline. You said it yourself. It's like two years to get a deal was a great deal.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a good thing you follow. That person followed up, or they followed up on that lead.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
huge. It's no
I like,
lead. It's yeah,
I
totally
like
go
that.
a different direction. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I do like that philosophy a lot too. One of the things that I think is true is like, hey, if you're in sales and like you're good,
Yeah.
it's not when will I get too busy? Or sorry, it's not a question of if I get too busy to follow up with everyone, it's when. Like it doesn't really take that long for most businesses to fill up your pipeline to the point where like, dude, I can't hit my lending. Some days I don't even get a chance to hit one follow up. It's like, yo, I'm only talking to you if
You're
you
so
email
busy.
me or call me. You know? Other days I have time. But what I've realized is like someone who's a run and gun sales guy, they just hit follow ups. And once they get too busy, that's it. Everyone else goes untouched. And you just can't grow. You're literally at the capacity of just you. And so I think if you really want to grow your business, you need to implement ways to touch people at scale, whether that is plugging in AI to at least chat with old leads. I mean, it's better for them to cuss you out than forget who you are, right? For me
Definitely.
personally, that's why I use like weekly emails, a monthly newsletter, and then Instagram. Because what happens is like someone who I kind of like, they weren't a good lead, honestly. We had one conversation. I didn't really think they were that serious. Maybe they had other lenders they like to work with. I'm not going to follow up with them. But if they're on my newsletters and they follow me on Instagram, those people will be the ones that like reach out to me out of the blue with a deal. And I haven't followed
Crazy.
up. Like I'm kind of guilty. I'm like, dude, I haven't followed up with you in forever.
It's
But
always the people you don't expect come out
yes,
of the blue. Yeah.
yes.
You
And you
spend
have to
so
have,
much time with other people and then somebody comes out of
yes.
nowhere. It's
It's
crazy.
like
Yeah.
it's like, you're if you're talking to people directly, like boom, you're hammering away. But I feel like you have to have like this safety net of mass reach for one of those people to just come out of the blue. And that makes a big difference, man. That makes a really big difference.
Huge. Yeah. Saves you, it comes out of nowhere and it gets you a good, client. And usually you like working with those people because they're invested into you. They've been
Yeah.
following you for a long time, which is always great. So,
Yeah. The
yep.
people who are least likely to ask me about my pricing are people from social media, which
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty competitive, but it's nice not to be asked, to be honest.
They
Like
just
those,
want to work with you. It's
yeah,
a,
yeah.
yeah,
What
definitely.
about for you? And when you're talking to sellers, have you noticed like one particular channel where people just seem to trust you the most? Is it like, I don't know what channels you're in, honestly, but
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of people do deals over text. I mean,
yeah.
tons of people. I think at this point in my business, I would agree with that a few years ago when I first started, it was all text messages. I think
Mm,
now, fast forward, if I can get on the phone, I think I can build a lot of trust that way. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think it depends person to person. You utilize what's best, what can help you, get people forward. But yeah, I think phone calls are great, especially for pre foreclosures. I think if you're just blasting stuff out, I think text message is great. Yeah, you're gonna sift through the stuff. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think curious what your thoughts are on this, but like, bro, obviously, like, it doesn't matter what business you're in. We all get shopped, man. If you're sending out contracts to sellers, they're trying to beat it, right? Like, whether they tell you that or not. Same thing on my end. Same thing,
Always.
dude. Even with flippers, bro, like, you can go under contract on something, not put up EMZ, and wholesaler gets a better offer and they take it, right?
Yeah.
So it happens to all of us. And really, my question for you would be like, dude, what are you doing in your business to prevent that? Like, I think a lot of it comes down to rapport, but also being systematic. And it's one of the things that I want to improve on in my business, especially after last month. It happens to me like a lot more than normal. So what is
Mm-hmm.
your, I don't know, your leads are so hard to convert. What are you doing once they get to the point where they've committed to you, but no checks have been cashed yet?
Yeah. I think maybe it's different B2B, industry to industry. I think consumer wise, business to consumer, wholesaling off market stuff. Personally, I just don't make an offer until they're ready, until they say they're absolutely ready. And if it makes sense, it makes sense, and they're going to sign right there because I know that they're ready to make a decision, and
Yeah.
I can help them go through some of the objections that they're inevitably going to have. I think if somebody wants to price shop, they're going to price shop.
Yeah.
I guess one thing in particular, I try not to be the first offer. That's
Yeah.
one thing I do. If I hear somebody say, "Hey, I'm just sifting through offers," I'm probably not going to call you. In fact, I have somebody doing that right now. It's just like you're never going to make it. They're not going to make a decision. They want 50 offers.
Yeah. Yeah.
When is the right offer going to show? What's the right offer for you? And
Well,
it's still not enough.
the reality is the right offer is going to be the guy that's like, I don't really mind price cutting people
Yeah,
5 days
and they'll
advance.
go with that. And they'll go with it, and then they get price dropped, and it sucks. It sucks. You see it happen 2 or 3 times in a row. The
Yeah.
homeowners are really upset. Yeah, yeah,
Are you not sending out an offer at all until you're like, hey, are you free for a phone call, and like
yeah,
sending over DocuSign?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, unless we're on the phone, I don't send any offers. I had a guy last week. He's like, "Hey, send me the offer." And he wanted to price shop. He had 3 other guys he's waiting on phone calls from. Told me that. I'm like, I don't know where we're going to be at yet, but like, let's talk after you get your other offers. I said, look, we don't really do the bidding thing. I said, we're going to close on your property. We're not maybe going to be the lowest offer. We're definitely not going to be the lowest offer, but we might not be the highest offer either.
Yeah.
So, get your other offers, see where they're at, and then I'll come in and beat those offers if I can. And if I can't, that's okay too. So call me when you're ready and we'll go through and see if it makes sense. We'll go through it on the phone. And if you're ready to make a decision right then and there, we'll move forward. And if
Yeah.
not, that's okay. So no offers unless we're on the phone.
Yeah.
Done.
That's good.
Yeah.
What's crazy, dude?
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, like Pacific Northwest does business a lot different than Florida. So
Yeah.
Rain City Capital, right? The group that I'm with, we don't do signed term sheets. Like, you don't ever
Right.
have to sign anything or put up $1 of your own money until you send your wire to title. And like every other lender I talk to is like, how,
How do you do that?
how do people know that they're like committed?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it wasn't a problem for me at first, but lately I've been literally like asking people these leads, like, are you 100% committed? And I will ask them that over the phone, and they'll say yes. Those are the same people that a week later are like, dude, I changed my mind. I'm like, bro, I wish I could take like, I don't know, put up $500 of EMD for this loan or something like that.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I actually worked with a lender in Ohio. They did that. So
Did they? They asked
yeah,
for
yeah, you had to, and then you had to pay for the. They required an appraisal. It was, I found that lender to be more like a private lender.
Yeah.
That was hard money. It was somewhere in between, but
like professional private lender.
Yeah. They require $500. So you're going to do it.
Yeah,
you're going to lose your money.
What's actually crazy is like if we have to do a value opinion, it's gonna be like $350. But we're like, we'll just cover it for the borrower, and then if they cancel, dude, we just eat the cost. We're like,
nice.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great. I'm
That's
like,
great.
I'd be all for making people pay for that, dude. But
100%.
yeah, it is what it is. So hey, we're coming up on time here, but for people listening in, real estate from really all angles, what do you think last piece of advice would be on just regarding leads, how to focus on the right ones, how to get rid of the wrong ones, any like particular tips or tricks that you implement in your daily systems or how you run your business? That would be a good way to end this.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say best tip of advice is define what you're looking for. So there's so much noise out there. You can get caught up in like what's what and what's the best way to do it. They're
Yeah.
all good. They're all good. You just have to do it and go 100% into it, whether that's getting on the phone, text messaging, it's just wholesaling or it's just doing flips or
Yeah.
it's doing a novation or a creative deal. Like just learn how to do it, be 100%. I approach every single phone call. You understand, Jared, we're here in like literally the most competitive market like in the country.
Yeah.
Between like Arizona, maybe Miami-Dade, and
Yeah.
there's several other markets, but super competitive. And
Yeah.
the only way you can be successful, especially in this market, is to like be somebody that's aggressive to find people that you can work with. Especially on the wholesale, the flipping side, you really have to put yourself out there,
Yeah.
get after it. And, you can farm, but I think you're going to find most people will find that if they're aggressive with what they're doing, they're going to have way more success. And
Yeah.
faster.
Bro, people who look for everything or try to do everything, they find
Yeah.
nothing. But get very
Definitely.
specific on what you're looking for and go all in on it. Couldn't agree more.
That's right. Yep. 100%.
Cool. Bro,
Sweet,
if someone wants to do a deal with you, what are you looking for? Where can people find you? Buy one.
You can DM me on Instagram, or you can send me a text if you have my phone number. So Instagram, you got it here. Send me a message, say I have a deal. Either I'll buy it or I have somebody that will buy it, and then Jared will fund it for you if you want to buy it yourself. So we can partner up. We can get it done. We'll call Jared, get him on the phone, and we'll close it in 2 weeks. Not even that. Right, Jared?
5 business. Dude, I got one going with Jordan, Sean, and Nick. That's going to be maybe 4 business days, as long as insurance is resolved. So
nice. Yeah. Let's go. Quick.
Cool, bro. Well, thanks for joining this week. That concludes this week's episode of Lever Up Your Life.
Let's go. Thanks, Jared.
Yep.